The crash happened on a Tuesday evening, the kind of accident that makes people shake their heads and wonder how anyone survived. And Zara Sullivan witnessed it from her apartment window, overlooking the rain-slicked intersection in downtown Seattle. She grabbed her phone and rushed downstairs in her worn sneakers, her nursing scrubs still on from her shift at Mercy General Hospital. The sleek black car had wrapped itself around a light pole, steam rising from the crumpled hood. Someone was moving inside, trying to get out. Zara reached the driver's side door just as sirens wailed in the distance. "Sir, stay still," she called through the shattered window. "Help is coming." The man inside turned his head toward her, blood trickling from a gash above his eyebrow. He was maybe 35, with dark hair and sharp features that even through the chaos registered as striking. His eyes were unfocused, confused. "I need to get out," he said, his voice rough. "You might have injuries. Please wait for the paramedics." But he was already pushing the door open with surprising strength. Zara stepped back as he climbed out, stumbling slightly. She caught his arm to steady him, and he looked down at her with those dark, disoriented eyes. "What happened?" he asked. "You crashed. Do you remember?" "The road was wet, and you—" "No, I mean, who am I?" Zara's stomach dropped. She had seen this before in the emergency room, the blank confusion of someone whose memory had been shaken loose by trauma. "You do not know your name." He touched his head gingerly, wincing. "Nothing. I do not remember anything." The ambulance arrived, and Zara rode with him to Mercy General, explaining to the EMTs what she had witnessed. At the hospital, they ran tests while she finished her shift, but she could not stop thinking about the lost look in his eyes. When her supervisor asked if she would stay on for a double shift to help with overflow, Zara agreed, partly because she needed the money and partly because she wanted to know if the man was okay. His name was Vincent Dawson. They found his wallet in the wreckage, along with a phone that had been destroyed in the impact. He was a billionaire, the doctor told Zara quietly, the founder of Dawson Maritime Industries, one of the largest shipping companies on the West Coast. His face had been in Forbes just last month. But Vincent Dawson did not remember any of it. Zara checked on him during her rounds. He was sitting up in bed, staring at the ID card the nurse had given him from his wallet. When she knocked on the door frame, he looked up. "You were there," he said. "At the accident." "I was." "How are you feeling?" "Like someone took an eraser to my brain." He set the ID down. "They tell me I am supposed to be important, rich, but I look at this face and I do not recognize it." Zara stepped into the room, her heart squeezing with sympathy. "The neurologist said your memories could come back. It might take time. And if they do not—" She did not have an answer for that. Instead, she checked his vitals, noting the readings on his chart. His eyes followed her movements. "What is your name?" he asked. "Zara Sullivan." "Thank you for helping me, Zara." Something in the way he said her name made warmth spread through her chest. She smiled. "That is what I do." Over the next 3 days, Vincent remained in the hospital for observation. Zara was not assigned to his case, but she found herself stopping by his room anyway. He had no family, they discovered. His parents were dead, no siblings, no wife or girlfriend listed in his emergency contacts. Just a lawyer and a business partner who showed up on day 2, looking stressed and talking about board meetings and shareholder concerns. Vincent sent them away after 10 minutes. "They were speaking a language I should understand," he told Zara when she brought him dinner, "but it meant nothing to me. Quarterly reports, acquisitions. I just kept thinking how much I wanted them to leave." Zara sat in the chair beside his bed. "That must be frightening." "It is like being a ghost in my own life." He picked at the hospital food. "Tell me something about yourself instead, something real." So she did. She told him about growing up in Spokane, about putting herself through nursing school while working 2 jobs, about her tiny apartment and her collection of mystery novels, and how she always burned toast because she got distracted. He listened like every word mattered, and when she laughed at her own stories, he smiled in a way that made her forget where she was. "You make it sound good," he said finally. "A normal life. It is just life, nothing special." "I think you are wrong about that." The hospital discharged Vincent on Friday with strict instructions to rest and avoid stress. His lawyer had arranged for him to return to his penthouse downtown, with a private nurse to monitor his recovery. But as Zara helped him sign the discharge papers, Vincent hesitated. "I do not want to go there," he said quietly, "to a place I do not remember, to people who know me but I do not know them." "Where else would you go?" He looked at her, and something vulnerable flickered in his expression. "Could I stay with you?" Zara nearly dropped her pen. "What?" "No, my apartment is tiny. You are used to I am not used to anything. I have no idea what I am used to." His hand found hers on the desk, warm and solid. "You are the only thing that feels real since I woke up. Please." She should have said no. It was inappropriate, probably unethical, definitely insane. But the desperate hope in his eyes broke something open inside her. "Okay," she whispered, "but just until you are steady on your feet." Her apartment was a studio with a Murphy bed, a galley kitchen, and a bathroom the size of a closet. Vincent stood in the middle of the space, holding the duffel bag the hospital had provided with clothes his lawyer had brought. "This is perfect," he said. Zara laughed. "You are lying." "I am serious. It feels like a home." She made up the couch for him with her spare blankets, and they ordered pizza because she had not gone grocery shopping. They ate sitting on her floor, backs against the couch, and talked about everything and nothing. Vincent asked questions about the city, about her job, about what music she liked. Every detail seemed to fascinate him. "It is like learning the world from scratch," he explained. "I get to decide what matters. And pizza matters. Pizza definitely matters." That first week passed in a strange, suspended bubble. Zara went to work while Vincent rested, reading the books on her shelf and watching the city from her window. When she came home, he would have attempted dinner, usually with mixed results. "I burned the toast," he admitted on Tuesday, looking sheepish. "Join the club," Zara said, and they made sandwiches instead, sitting on the couch and watching old movies on her laptop. His lawyer called repeatedly. His business partner showed up at the door once, a sharp-eyed man named Gregory who looked at Zara like she was a problem to be solved. "Vincent, you need to come back," Gregory said. "The company needs you. We can arrange memory specialists, the best care. I am where I want to be," Vincent replied, his voice firm in a way Zara had not heard before. Something commanding and absolute. Gregory left, but not before giving Zara a business card and a warning look. "He thinks I am taking advantage of you," Zara said after the door closed. Vincent tore the business card in half. "He does not know anything." But the outside world kept pressing in. A doctor called to schedule a follow-up, mentioning that traumatic amnesia cases sometimes resolved suddenly or sometimes never did. There was no way to predict. Vincent took the information with surprising calm. "If I never remember, then I get to be someone new," he said to Zara that night. They were sitting on her fire escape, looking at the stars you could barely see through the city lights. "Would that be so bad? You built an empire. You must have worked hard for that. Or maybe I was miserable." He turned to look at her, his face serious. "Maybe this is a second chance." Zara's heart was beating too fast. A chance at what? At figuring out what actually matters. He was close enough that she could see the faint scar from the accident above his eyebrow, the flecks of amber in his dark eyes. For a moment, she thought he might kiss her, and she did not know if she wanted him to or if she was terrified by how much she wanted him to. Her phone rang, breaking the moment. It was the hospital, asking if she could cover a shift tomorrow. She said yes because she always said yes, because the bills did not stop. When she hung up, Vincent had moved back, giving her space. The next few weeks developed a rhythm. Zara worked long shifts while Vincent slowly explored the life he had lost. He went to his penthouse once, came back pale and shaken. "It is like a museum," he told her. "Everything is expensive and cold. I walked through those rooms and felt nothing. Did anything seem familiar? No. And the worst part is, I do not think I like the person who lived there." He started accompanying Zara on her errands, to the grocery store and the laundromat, ordinary tasks that delighted him. They cooked together in her tiny kitchen, getting in each other's way and laughing when the smoke alarm went off. He was patient and funny and surprisingly handy, fixing her broken cabinet and the leaking faucet she had been meaning to deal with for months. "How did you know how to do that?" she asked, watching him work. "No idea. My hands just remembered." It was strange, the pieces of himself that survived the amnesia. He knew how to fix things, how to read a map, how to play chess. But ask him about his childhood or his company, or why he had been driving that night, and he came up blank. Zara found herself falling for him in the quiet moments. The way he listened when she talked about her day. The way he left her coffee by the bathroom in the morning, made exactly how she liked it, even though she had only mentioned it once. The way he looked at her like she was the most interesting person in the world. But she held back, kept walls up, because he was still Vincent Dawson, billionaire, even if he did not remember it. And she was still Zara Sullivan, who had student loans and a second-hand couch and no business falling for someone whose real life was waiting to reclaim him. 2 months after the accident, Vincent got a call from a neurologist who specialized in memory disorders. There was a treatment, experimental but promising, that might help recover his memories. Vincent made the appointment and Zara went with him. The doctor was optimistic but cautious. The treatment involves a combination of cognitive therapy and medication. Some patients have excellent results, but I need to warn you, if your memories return, they may not come back all at once. It can be disorienting. "Will I forget what happened since the accident?" Vincent asked. The doctor hesitated. In some cases, when traumatic memories return, the brain can prioritize older neural pathways. The new memories, the ones formed during amnesia, can become fragmented, less accessible. Zara felt cold. "You are saying he might forget the last 2 months?" "It is a possibility, not a certainty, but you should be prepared." In the waiting room afterward, Vincent took her hand. "I am not doing it." "What, Vincent, this could give you your life back. You are my life now." Her throat tightened. "That is not fair. You are deciding based on incomplete information. You do not know what you are giving up." "I know what I would be giving up. This, us." "There is no us," she said, even as her heart screamed the opposite. "I am just the person who happened to be there when you needed help." He stood, pulling her up with him. "You are so much more than that, and you know it." They were in the middle of the hospital corridor, people streaming past, but Zara could only see him. "I cannot be the reason you do not try to get better. Then give me a reason to risk it. Tell me this is real. Vincent, tell me you feel this too." She did. God, she did. It was written in every accelerated heartbeat, every moment she caught herself watching him sleep on her couch, every time his smile made her entire day brighter. But saying it out loud would make it real, and real things could break. "I do," she whispered finally. "I feel it too." He kissed her then, and it was like coming home and jumping off a cliff at the same time. His hands cupped her face gently, and she melted into him, forgetting where they were, forgetting everything but this, When they finally broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "Then I will take the treatment. But promise me if I forget, you will remind me." "Remind you of what?" "That I loved you, that this mattered." Tears stung her eyes. "I promise." The treatment started the following week. Vincent moved back to his penthouse because the protocol required strict monitoring and medical equipment Zara's apartment could not accommodate. She visited every day after work, holding his hand through the sessions that left him exhausted and disoriented. His memories came back in pieces. First, fragments of childhood. A dog named Captain. His mother's laugh. Then college, business school, the early days of his company. With each returning memory, Zara watched him change subtly. His posture straightened. His voice took on a different cadence. The lost, gentle man who had lived on her couch began to fade, replaced by someone sharper, more guarded. "I remember my first office," he told her one evening, his voice distant. "It was a converted warehouse by the docks. I worked 18-hour days for 3 years straight. That must have been hard. I loved it. The challenge, the competition, building something from nothing." He looked at her, and for a second she saw a stranger. "I was ruthless, Zara. I destroyed competitors. I fired people without blinking if they did not meet my standards. That is business." "Is it? Or is that just what I told myself?" The treatment continued. More memories surfaced. Business deals. Board meetings. A failed engagement to a woman named Charlotte who had wanted his money more than she wanted him. With each session, Vincent became more himself and less the person Zara had fallen in love with. "I can feel it slipping," he told her desperately one night. They were sitting in his penthouse living room, the same cold space he had hated months ago, but that now seemed to fit him perfectly. "The time with you, it is getting fuzzy around the edges." Zara held his hand tighter. "Then hold on." "I am trying. God, Zara, I am trying." But the brain is not something you can control through willpower alone. The neurologist had warned them, but warnings and reality are different things. Vincent's older memories grew stronger, more vivid, while the recent months became dreamlike, uncertain. The day it happened completely was a Thursday. Zara arrived at the penthouse after her shift to find Vincent at his desk, on the phone, talking about shipping routes and tariffs with the brisk confidence of someone who had never been lost. He looked up when she entered, and her stomach dropped. There was no recognition in his eyes. "I will call you back," he said into the phone, hanging up. "Can I help you, Vincent? It is me, Zara." He frowned slightly. "I am sorry, have we met?" The world tilted. "You do not remember. I have been dealing with some medical issues. My memory has been unreliable. If we had an appointment, I apologize. We did not have an appointment." Her voice sounded distant to her own ears. "We had a life." Something flickered in his expression. Confusion, maybe concern. "Miss, I think there has been a misunderstanding." The neurologist had been right. The new memories, the ones formed during his amnesia, had been overwritten, filed away in some inaccessible corner of his mind. To Vincent, the last few months might as well have never happened. Zara left before the tears could fall. She made it to her car, to her apartment, to her bed before she broke down completely. He had forgotten. Everything they had shared, every moment, every word, gone like it had never existed. She called in sick the next day, the first time in 5 years. She lay in bed and stared at the couch where he had slept, at the coffee mug he had used, at the chess set they had played with on quiet evenings. Ghosts of a relationship only she remembered. Her phone rang. Vincent's lawyer, probably calling to arrange for her to return whatever belongings Vincent had left. She did not answer, but the calls kept coming. Different numbers. Finally, she picked up. "Miss Sullivan," an unfamiliar voice. "This is Dr. Chen, Mr. Dawson's neurologist. He asked me to contact you." Why? He found something. Notes he had written to himself during the treatment. He knows something happened between you even if he cannot remember it. He wants to see you. No. Miss Sullivan, tell him I hope he has a good life. She hung up and blocked the number. 3 weeks passed. Zara threw herself into work, picking up every extra shift available. She moved through the hospital corridors like a ghost, doing her job with mechanical efficiency. Her coworkers noticed but did not pry. She was grateful for that. Then one evening she came home to find Vincent waiting outside her apartment building. He looked different. Expensive suit, perfectly styled hair, the posture of someone who owned the world. But his eyes were uncertain. "You should not be here," Zara said, fumbling with her keys. "I know. But I needed to see you." "Why, you do not even remember me." "No, I do not." He stepped closer. "But I remember writing in a journal every day during the treatment. The doctor said it might help, and I wrote about you, Zara, pages and pages about you." She forced herself to look away. "That is not the same as remembering." "I know it is not, but I read those entries, and I cannot stop thinking about the person I was with you. The person who chose pizza on the floor over 5-star restaurants, who fixed your sink and burned toast and was happy. That person is gone, maybe. Or maybe he is just buried." Vincent's hand reached for hers, then dropped. "I know I have no right to ask this, but will you give me a chance? Not to remember because I do not know if I ever will, but to know you again." Zara's defenses were crumbling. "That is not fair. I already lost you once." "Then let me find you again." She wanted to say no. The smart thing, the self-protective thing, was to walk away. But she looked at him standing there, this powerful man who had traveled across the city to stand outside her apartment like a supplicant, and she saw the faintest echo of the person she had loved. "One coffee," she said finally. "That is all I am promising." Relief flooded his face. "One coffee." "Thank you." They went to a diner 2 blocks away, the kind of place Vincent Dawson, billionaire CEO, probably never frequented. He ordered black coffee and looked uncomfortable in the booth. "This is strange," he admitted. "Sitting across from someone who knows me better than I know myself. I do not know the current you at all." "Then tell me about the other me, the one you knew." So she did. Hesitantly at first, then with growing momentum. She told him about the first week, how he had marveled at ordinary things, how he had tried to cook and always failed spectacularly, how he had listened to her talk about her day like it was the most fascinating story ever told. "I wrote about that," Vincent said quietly. "About how you made me laugh, how safe I felt with you. You wrote that." He pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos of journal pages. His handwriting, slightly shaky from the medications, filled screen after screen. He found one entry and turned the phone toward her. "Zara came home exhausted today. Another double shift. She still smiled when she saw me. I do not understand how someone can give so much and still have more to give. She is teaching me what it means to be good." Zara's eyes burned. "You really wrote that? Every word? There is more. Days and days of it, falling in love with you in real time." He put the phone down. "I read it like a novel about someone else's life." "But the feelings in those words, Zara, they are real. I can feel them, even if I cannot remember them." "That does not make sense." "I know. But when I saw you outside your apartment, something clicked. Not a memory exactly, more like recognition, like my heart remembered even if my brain did not." She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. They talked for 3 hours. The diner staff refilled their coffee cups and left them alone. Vincent asked questions, real questions about her life, her dreams, her favorite books. And slowly, Zara began to see glimpses of the man she had known. The way he tilted his head when he listened. The half-smile when she said something unexpected. Small things, familiar things. "Can I see you again?" he asked when they finally left the diner. I do not know if I can do this, Zara admitted. Falling for you again, knowing you might wake up one day and I will be a stranger. The journal is dated. I know exactly when I fell in love with you. October 15th. We were on your fire escape and you were talking about why you became a nurse. You said you wanted to be the person who stayed. That stuck with me. Zara remembered that conversation. The night air had been cold and Vincent had given her his jacket. I still have that jacket, she said softly. You left it at my place. Can I earn the right to leave things at your place again? Despite everything, she smiled. You are persistent. Apparently, that is consistent across both versions of me. They started slowly. Coffee once a week, then twice. Vincent took her to dinner at restaurants that felt too fancy, and she took him back to the diner where the food was better. He told her about his company, the pressure of running an empire, the loneliness of always being the person in charge. She told him about her patience, the tiny victories and heartbreaking losses. You care so much, he said one evening. They were walking through Pike Place Market, dodging tourists and street performers. About everyone. How do you not burn out? Sometimes I do, Zara admitted. That is why I needed you before. You reminded me that I could rest. I want to be that for you again. He was trying, she could see that. He read his journals obsessively, trying to reconstruct the person he had been. But Zara began to realize something. She was not falling for the old Vincent, the one who had lived on her couch. She was falling for this new version, the one who was choosing her with full knowledge of his other life. The old Vincent had loved her by default, because she was all he had. This Vincent had options, wealth, power, a world of possibilities, and he kept showing up at her door. I talked to my board today, he told her 2 months into their tentative reconciliation. They were at his penthouse, Zara finally comfortable enough to spend time there. I am stepping back from day-to-day operations. What? Why? Because I read about the person I was before the accident. Obsessed with work, no personal life, no balance. I do not want to be that person again. He took her hand. I want time for things that matter, for people who matter. Vincent, you cannot rebuild your entire life around me. That is too much pressure. I am not rebuilding around you. I am rebuilding toward the person I want to be, and that person has you in his life, if you will have him. Zara looked at this man who had forgotten her and chosen to find her again, and felt the last of her walls crumble. I will have you. He kissed her then, and it was different from the first time. No desperation, no fear, just certainty and warmth and the promise of something real. But the past was not quite finished with them. A week later, Gregory, Vincent's business partner, requested a meeting. Zara went with Vincent to the office, a gleaming high-rise downtown. Gregory was cordial but cold. Vincent, I need to discuss your recent decisions, stepping back from operations, delegating your responsibilities. The board is concerned. The board will adapt, Vincent said calmly. And this? Gregory gestured to Zara. No offense, Miss Sullivan, but you are a distraction. Vincent has built something extraordinary. He cannot throw it away for what, Gregory? For a personal life, for happiness, for a woman you do not even remember meeting. The words hung in the air like poison. Vincent stood, his voice dropping to something dangerous. You are right. I do not remember meeting Zara, but I remember reading about who I was with her. Someone better than the person sitting in this office before the accident. Someone I actually want to be. You are making a mistake. Then it is my mistake to make. And Gregory, if you ever speak about Zara that way again, you will be looking for a new business partner. They left the office together. In the elevator, Zara let out a shaky breath. You did not have to do that. Yes, I did. I meant what I said. You make me better. I am terrified, she admitted, that you will wake up one day and regret this, regret me. Vincent stopped the elevator between floors, the emergency button glowing red. He turned to face her fully. "I have been thinking about that. About why my memories of you did not stick the first time. The doctor said it was normal. The doctor said my brain prioritized older pathways. But what if it was more than that? What if some part of me was fighting the treatment because I did not want to go back to who I was before? That is not how amnesia works. Maybe not. But Zara, every day I choose you. Every single day with all my memories intact, knowing exactly what I am giving up and what I am gaining. That has to count for something. It counted for everything. The months that followed were not perfect." Vincent struggled with the expectations of his company, the pressure to be the ruthless CEO everyone remembered. Zara struggled with feeling out of place in his world of charity galas and business dinners. But they learned together, finding a balance. Vincent restructured his company, bringing in a managing director to handle daily operations while he focused on strategy and innovation. It gave him time, precious time, to build a life outside the office. He started going to Zara's apartment again, bringing takeout and helping her study for her nurse practitioner certification. "You are going to be incredible," he told her, quizzing her on pharmacology. "I keep messing up the drug interactions. You will get it. You always do." 6 months after their reconciliation, Vincent took Zara back to the intersection where they had met. The light pole had been replaced, but the spot was the same. "I stood here last week," he said, "trying to remember the accident. I cannot. That night is just gone. Does that bother you?" "It used to. But then I realized something. I do not need to remember how we started. I just need to know how we continue." He pulled out a small box, and Zara's heart stopped. "I am not doing this because of what I read in journals or because of some romanticized idea of who I was," Vincent said, opening the box to reveal a simple, perfect ring. "I am doing this because every morning I wake up and choose you, and I want to keep choosing you for the rest of my life." "Zara Sullivan, will you marry me?" She was crying, laughing, nodding all at once. "Yes. Yes, absolutely yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, and she kissed him there on the sidewalk where their story had begun, where everything had fallen apart and come together again. The wedding was small, just close friends and the co-workers who had become family. Zara wore a simple dress, and Vincent could not stop staring at her like she was the only person in the world. When they exchanged vows, he promised to choose her every day, and she promised to remind him who he was when he forgot. Not forgot in the medical sense, but in the way everyone forgets sometimes. In the stress of daily life, in the moments of doubt and fear. They would be each other's memory, each other's anchor. A year after the wedding, Zara finished her nurse practitioner program. Vincent threw her a celebration at their home, a renovated brownstone that was neither his sterile penthouse nor her tiny studio, but something uniquely theirs. It had a real kitchen where they cooked together, burning toast on purpose now just to laugh about it. "I am so proud of you," Vincent said, wrapping his arms around her from behind as she looked at her diploma. "Could not have done it without you. You absolutely could have. You are the strongest person I know." She turned in his arms. "We make each other strong." 2 years after that, they welcomed their daughter into the world. Vincent held the tiny bundle with tears streaming down his face, and Zara knew that whatever memories he had lost, whatever parts of his past remained unclear, this moment was crystallized forever. They named her Violet, and she had her mother's determination and her father's intensity. As she grew, Vincent would tell her the story of how he and Zara met, the accident and the amnesia and the falling in love twice. "So you forgot Mama?" Violet asked when she was 5, her face scrunched in confusion. "I did," Vincent said, pulling Zara close, "but my heart remembered." and I fell in love with her all over again. That is silly. How can you forget someone you love? You cannot, Zara said, kissing her daughter's forehead. Not really, not where it counts. Vincent started a foundation in those years, funding amnesia research and supporting caregivers who helped patients through memory loss. Zara worked at a community clinic, providing care to people who could not afford it otherwise. They built a life around service and love, and the quiet moments that mattered more than quarterly reports or profit margins. On their 10th anniversary, Vincent took Zara back to her old apartment building. It had been renovated, turned into condos, but the fire escape was still there. I had a memory the other day, he said as they stood on the familiar metal grating. Or I think I did, us sitting here talking about the stars. Zara's breath caught. You remember that? I do not know. It felt real, but it might have just been from reading about it so many times. Does it matter, she thought about the difference between lived memory and reconstructed truth? No, it does not matter. What matters is we are here now. I love you, Zara. I need you to know that is not because of who I was or who I forgot to be. It is because of who you are. I love you too, both versions of you, all versions of you. They kissed there on the fire escape, 10 years and a lifetime away from where they started. Below them, the city moved on, indifferent to their story. But that was okay. Some stories were not meant for the world. Some stories were just meant to be lived, one chosen moment at a time. Vincent never fully recovered his memories of those first months with Zara. The neurologist said it was unlikely he ever would, that the pathways had been overwritten too completely. But he kept the journals, reading them sometimes when he needed to remember what mattered. And Zara kept the jacket he had given her that night on the fire escape, the one from before he forgot. She wore it sometimes when she needed to feel close to him, to both versions of him, the lost man who had needed her and the found man who had chosen her. Their daughter grew, and eventually they had a son, Alexander, who had his father's dark eyes and his mother's compassion. The children grew up hearing the story of the accident, the amnesia, the love that survived forgetting. It is like a fairy tale, Violet said when she was older, 16 and romantic. It is better than a fairy tale, Zara replied. It is real. Vincent's company thrived under his adjusted leadership. He proved that you could be successful without sacrificing everything, that balance was not weakness but strength. Other CEOs started following his model, and he became known not just for his business acumen but for his humanity. But his greatest success, he always said, was the life he built with Zara. The Saturday morning pancakes and the evening walks and the quiet conversations that needed no agenda. The partnership of two people who had found each other in the wreckage and built something beautiful from the broken pieces. On their 25th anniversary, surrounded by their grown children and the grandchildren who had started to arrive, Vincent stood to make a toast. 25 years ago, I crashed my car and lost my memory. Everyone said it was a tragedy, and I suppose in some ways it was. But I cannot bring myself to regret it, because that accident brought me to Zara. It gave me the chance to choose love with clear eyes and a full heart. Some people spend their whole lives looking for what we found in that hospital room. I am the luckiest man alive, not because I forgot, but because I found my way back. Zara stood and took his hand, her eyes bright with tears and joy. And I am the luckiest woman, because I got to fall in love with you twice. Once when you needed me, and once when you chose me. Both times were perfect. Their children cheered, and their grandchildren laughed. And in that moment, surrounded by the family they had built and the love they had chosen and rechosen over and over, Zara knew that some stories do get happy endings. Not because everything was perfect or because the challenges stopped coming, but because two people decided that what they had was worth fighting for, worth choosing, worth building a life around. Vincent pulled her close, and she melted into his familiar embrace, into the arms that had held her through joy and fear and every moment in between. He still sometimes looked at her with wonder, like he could not quite believe his luck. And she still sometimes caught herself watching him sleep, grateful that fate had brought them together, grateful that love had kept them together. "What are you thinking?" he whispered against her hair. "That I would do it all again, every moment, even the painful parts, especially those." They led me here. They danced later, swaying to music in the backyard of their home, under stars that were brighter than the ones they used to watch from the fire escape. Their children danced nearby with their own partners, and their grandchildren ran circles around the adults, and everything was chaotic and beautiful and real. "You ever wonder what would have happened if I had never lost my memories?" Vincent asked. Zara considered it. "Sometimes. But I think we would have found each other anyway." "You really believe that?" "I do. Some people are meant to find each other. The how does not matter as much as the choice to stay." He kissed her temple, her cheek, her lips. 25 years and he still kissed her like she was precious. Like she was the answer to a question he had not known he was asking. The party wound down eventually. Children and grandchildren hugged them goodbye, promising to visit soon, already planning the next gathering. Vincent and Zara stood on their front porch, watching the taillights disappear down the street. "Tired?" she asked. "Happy," he replied. They went inside together, to the home they had built, to the life they had chosen. And if somewhere in the back of Vincent's mind, fragments of lost memories stirred and settled like old dreams, it did not matter. The present was vivid and bright and full of love. Zara fell asleep in his arms that night, like she had for 25 years, like she would for all the years to come. And Vincent held her close, whispering promises into the dark. Promises to choose her tomorrow and the day after and every day until the world stopped spinning. Some love stories begin with fireworks. Some begin with chance meetings in coffee shops or lingering glances across crowded rooms. And some begin with twisted metal and shattered glass, with a stranger climbing out of a wrecked car and asking, "Who am I?" But all the best love stories, the ones that last, are built on the same foundation. Choice. The daily, deliberate choice to love and be loved. To stay when leaving would be easier. To fight for what matters. To remember, even when the world forgets. Vincent Dawson forgot Zara Sullivan once. His brain, damaged and healing, let her slip through his fingers like water. But his heart held on. And when the chance came to find her again, he took it. He chose her with full knowledge, with no excuses, with the absolute certainty that she was worth everything. And Zara, who had loved a lost man and mourned him when he disappeared behind the walls of his old life, chose to believe in second chances, chose to trust that love could survive forgetting, chose to open her heart again, even when it terrified her. Their story was not perfect. No story is. But it was theirs, written in shared moments and quiet promises, and the absolute certainty that they were better together than apart. Years later, when Violet had children of her own and Alexander had made his parents proud by becoming a doctor, when Vincent's hair had gone silver and Zara's hands bore the gentle marks of time, they would still dance in their kitchen to no music. They would still burn toast and laugh about it. They would still sit on summer evenings and watch the stars, talking about everything and nothing. And sometimes, very rarely, Vincent would have a flash of something, a feeling more than a memory. The ghost of Zara's laugh in his tiny apartment, the warmth of her couch where he had slept. The safety of being with someone who knew him when he did not know himself. "I think I remembered something," he would say, and Zara would smile. Tell me. And he would describe the feeling, the fleeting sense of belonging, and she would fill in the details he had lost. Together, they would reconstruct the past, blending memory and story until they could not tell where one ended and the other began. It did not matter. What mattered was this: they had found each other, lost each other, and found each other again. They had built a life on the foundation of chosen love. And that was a story worth telling, worth living, worth celebrating until the very end. On their 50th anniversary, frail but still holding hands, Vincent looked at Zara with eyes that held half a century of love. "Best decision I ever made," he said. "Crashing your car," she teased. "Finding you again, choosing you every single day." "I chose you too, I know. That is what makes me the luckiest man alive." They kissed soft and sweet, the kiss of two people who had weathered everything together. And in that moment, in all the moments that came before and all the moments that would come after, their love was the only thing that mattered. The only thing worth remembering. The only thing that truly lasted. Because in the end, Vincent had been right all those years ago. Some memories fade. Some disappear completely. But love, real love, the kind built on choice and trust and daily commitment, that kind of love does not forget. It endures. It grows. It becomes the story you tell your children and your grandchildren, the legacy you leave behind. Zara Sullivan had cared for a billionaire with amnesia, unaware he would forget her but fall again. And in forgetting and falling, in losing and finding, they had created something beautiful, something lasting, something real. Their story was one of redemption and second chances, of love that survived the impossible. And it was proof that sometimes the best love stories are the ones where you fall twice, where you choose each other not once but over and over again, where forgetting becomes the path to something even deeper than remembering. In the end, it was never about the accident or the amnesia or the dramatic reunion. It was about two people who found each other in the chaos and decided to stay, who built a life on the foundation of chosen love, who proved that happily ever after is not a destination but a daily practice. And they lived it together for all the days they were given, choosing each other, loving each other, building a legacy of love that would outlast memory itself.